Hey guys, Sharpend here. In this video I'm going to show you how to use resonant low-pass filters to take any basic instrument sound, like this, and turn it into an evolving ambient soundscape sound, like this. And then I'm also going to show you how to chop up that sound to create very unique small melodic bits out of it, like this. So this sound design method was inspired by a League of Legends character called Bard. Pretty much all of his sound effects and musical theme is based on a lot of resonant sounds. And this is exactly the sort of technique I'm going to show in this video. So for this sound design technique, you're going to need to use very simple instruments. So here we have a bass, which is just a saw wave. And on top of that, there's a short improv, melodic improv using a square wave that is being low passed. And it has some slight delay and some slight room reverb. As you can see, the decay is very short so that it sounds like a room. So altogether, both of these sound like this. And the main thing that makes this sound so ambient and interesting is the effects. So we're going to go through these now. I'm going to enable these, and let's start one by one. So as you can see, it's quite a long effects chain, and let's start with our phaser. You can use any type of phaser to add some movement to the sound. You can use a very aggressive phaser or a very subtle phaser. Here's a subtle one, and here's how we make it a bit more aggressive. I'm going to keep it fairly simple so that it allows the sound to evolve by a bit, but not too much. In addition to that, there's a convolution reverb. It's basically a white noise sample that, as you can see, has an attack time and a decay time. So that means that over like 5 seconds the reverb is over. Let me play a note to demonstrate. As you can hear, the note faded out after about 5 seconds. And then after the convolution reverb, we're going to be adding a lot of distortion. Here's the wave shaper, and here's Camel Crusher. As you can see, it's set on all the way up, quite a lot of compression, a lot of distortion. That will help us add a lot of overtones and harmonics to our sounds to create very interesting resonant bits. Altogether, it sounds like this. Pretty messy. And then there's the EQ that really helps us create this soundscape resonant effect. And it's using a low-pass filter that has a very high resonance. So as you can see, the resonance is set all the way to the top. So that means that everywhere the low-pass filter goes through, it's going to increase the frequencies in that area by quite a bit, and it's going to create a resonant peak like this. So as you can see in DQ, I'm also reducing some of the high end, and I'm also setting some additional resonant peaks to increase the volume of certain frequencies to add some more interest to the sound. So what you want to do is to use the cutoff of the low-pass filter to modulate it, and by that to create very interesting soundscapes. So I'm going to be using the mod wheel. You could use a regular automation clip. As you can see, I'm moving the mod wheel and it changes the cutoff. So here's how it sounds. So it sounds pretty ambient. I'm going to demonstrate how it sounds without the distortion. You can see that there are a lot of there's a lot less resonant peaks due to the lack of distortion, which adds a lot of harmonic content. So you can still hear the frequency sweep, but you can't really hear all of these very sharp overtones that are being added to the sound using the distortion. So in addition to that, there's some plate reverb. It's pretty short and it's only on 40% wet, only 1 second of reverb time. It's just there to add a bit of ambiguity to the sound so that it doesn't sound way too obvious which notes you're playing, since you want to make it very ambient. You can also make it a bit more ambiguous by setting the convolution reverb with the white noise at the bottom. And that makes the sound way more ambient, and you can barely hear what notes your instruments are playing. Here's a demonstration. So right now it sounds a lot more metallic because it happens after the distortion, and it basically sort of hides all of the notes by just having a very long decay time for the reverb. So in addition to that, there's also a limiter that is only being there so that this sound doesn't clip and get way too distorted. And now I'm going to record a tiny bit of it by me playing the pattern and then moving the mod wheel, so we can see what we can get out of it. And now after you have a recorded performed bit of your resonant soundscape, you can then chop it up in the playlist to create some really cool ambient parts. So I chopped up the soundscape that we recorded and I got this bit. And then I added a bunch of effects on top of it. I added some delay. It sounds like this. There's some bit crushing. I added an EQ that removes the very low frequencies, and I also increased a very specific frequency that is related to this chop. Here's how it sounds without the EQ. So this EQ really helps bring out the notes that I wanted to show there. And then I added some dimension expanding, so altogether it sounds like this. And then you can use these chops on top of a beat or something to add a slightly more unique sound design element on top of it. And of course you can also remove the bit crushing for a more lo-fi sound like this. And of course you can just use the loop that you created, just play it out as an ambient soundscape on top of your track or on top of a breakdown part as well. And that is pretty much it. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what subject you want me to cover up next time.